So good morning, everybody, and welcome and good evening to Leo. Welcome to our ongoing study of the Unity Correspondence course. And as always, before we get started, let's just take a moment and go into that inner space, the secret space of the Most High, as Emily Cady says. And let's just rest in the truth of our being. There is only one presence, one power, one love, animating my being, God the good, omnipotent. Let's just take a moment with that truth. And as we remain in that feeling state, however that's showing up for each of us, I'm going to invite Lillian to share with us today's daily word.
Yeah, today's daily word. We need it. World peace. As I affirm peace, I help create a peaceful world. In 1964, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "It is not enough to say we must not wage war. It is necessary to love peace and sacrifice for it. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but the positive affirmation of peace. Of course, I will work toward creating the kind of world I wish to see, investing my effort and energy to ending conflict, discrimination, and other kinds of negativity. But I also put my energy into creating harmony, cooperation, opportunity, and other positive outcomes. Today, I affirm that peace is dawning all over the world, blessing all people with warm feelings of cooperation and togetherness. I affirm peace is here, even as I strive to create it. May the God of peace himself sanctify you entirely, and may your spirit and soul and body be kept sound. From Thessalonians 5:23.
Thanks, Lillian.
Thank you. Thank you.
As I affirm peace, I help create a peaceful world. Let's affirm that together. As I affirm
As I affirm peace,
I
I
help
help
create a
create
peaceful
a
world.
peaceful world.
All right. So, welcome to everybody who just joined us. We have been working on the Fillmore's Statement of Faith. And last week we got through the first, let's see, let me get it up here. Last week we worked through the up to number 14. So we're about halfway through. And today we start with number 15. But before we do that, as always, just want to check in and see if anybody has any thoughts or um, notions that showed up for you over the course of the last week about our first 2 weeks of study, the first 14. Oh, everybody's shy this morning. Okay.
Or forgot.
Or both. Okay, so let's pick up then number 15. Let's read 15, 16, and 17. Who would be willing to read 15, 16, and 17 for us?
I
I
will.
will.
Okay,
Oh.
thank you.
You, Claudia?
I differ.
Okay, Leo, you're up.
Oh, sorry. 15. We believe that sense consciousness may be lifted up as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, and that all men may be again restored to the paradise through faith, understanding, and the practice of the divine law, as Jesus Christ taught and demonstrated. We believe that creative mind, God, is masculine and feminine, and that these attributes of being are fundamental in both natural and spiritual man. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. We believe that we live, move, and have our being in God mind. Also, that God mind lives, moves, and has being in us to the extent of our consciousness.
Thanks, Leo. As
Welcome.
always, just a few minor points.
I have immediate comment, something I found out the last weeks.
Okay.
And that is about the capstone. Somewhere in the Bible, it says somewhere the stone that the builders rejected. And I remember trying to put the idea of the 12 towers together for me. And then I thought about a pyramid. And the pyramid has 4 triangles. And these 4 triangles only match really together if you have a cornerstone at the base of each of these triangles. And then it struck me that it has to do with, how to say that, to see more perspectives in things. So if I see, if I look at a color like this thing, I say orange, but you can define maybe more attributes to that thing, good or not. And lifting my consciousness, I think, would mean that every aspect of me finds more classes. I don't know how to say. I'm a computer man, and we call that classes and attributes. Like color. Color is a class, then an attribute is orange or blue or red. And what normally we do is when we look at something, we give that a value. And according to that value, we do something or we don't do something. And if instead you start to find more aspects of that particular thing that you look at, then you are lifting the serpent, because the serpent is first flat, is on the horizontal plane, and then you lift it up. It means that you get more perspective, more volume. Does that make sense a bit or not?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me.
Yep. Yeah, me too.
There's in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's a mountain called, no, I just lost the name of it.
Tamalpais.
Mount Diablo.
Oh, Diablo.
Diablo. Yeah.
Mount Diablo is more or less, I think it's about 900 feet, 1,000 feet, and it's kind of all by itself. And I like to use the image of the raising of consciousness is like climbing Mount Diablo. And every 100 feet, you can see farther. When you get to the top of Mount Diablo, you can see all the way to Mount Shasta. And you don't have to stop there. So if you get into a helicopter and start rising above Mount Diablo, you can actually start to see Mount Diablo. So yeah, that's a powerful image, Leo.
And then, of course, after the cornerstone, you have the capstone.
Yep.
And the capstone makes the pyramid complete. And that would be, I think, what Charles Fillmore means with completing the 12 powers
Well,
in a way.
ironically, even if you're standing on the tip of the capstone, you still can't see the whole pyramid because you can't see the bottom. So that for me implies that at least at the level of human consciousness, there is always more to come, or as Phil Pearson would say, the best is yet to be.
You're familiar with string theory?
Yeah. I'm familiar that there is string theory. Don't
Okay,
make me
well,
try to explain what it is.
well, you could see that everything that we encounter is composed of many things, and they come from an origin, a principle. And to say it is, you can say simply, it is one origin, and that is God. But God has differentiated itself, and it is like the seven colors of the chakras. These are energy levels that all objects that we see have somehow a connection with these energy levels. Is that a bit of a, I don't know. I cannot really
Well,
make it solid.
yeah, but there's some relation to what you're saying to this number 17. We believe that we live, move, and have our being in God mind. So if you think of the effects of God mind as being this infinite series of vibratory reality, that's partly what I understand string theory to be.
Well, for me, a very practical example of that is I buy my bread and I get it packed in a plastic bag. And when I throw the plastic bag away, I say thank you. So I release my part of that object. So I'm not going to think, oh, that plastic that I throw away now, that will pollute this and will do that and will do that. I totally disconnect from that. I say thank you, and it will flow back into the universe. So my string is no longer attached to that. Is that make sense?
Can you say part of that again, Leo? What is it that, I may have missed a word or two that what is it that you're disconnecting from? What is it that you're throwing back? Something in your life?
I'll try to find another example.
Or even the first one, because I may just didn't hear it.
The first one, I think the first one, what I understood Leo to say, so let me mansplain, was that he releases his energy from the energy of the plastic bag so that he's not connected.
The plastic bag.
He's not connected to the waste.
Now,
So it's
I may use another example, but then I address a big elephant. If I look at Trump as the evil man, I attach my energy to evil. But if I tell that something good will come of it, then I will give that my momentum for make a positive change in the history of mankind.
well, that's a good
I agree.
good one. I want to go back to, and I think this is incredibly powerful, because if we substitute at the very end ego for consciousness, for me, that's, God will flow through us, manifest us through us, because God is in us. to the extent that we let our egoic mind let that through. So, if our egoic mind is like very porous, not rigid, because we all have an ego that's, that's probably Emily Katie's personality parts about. We all have it, but to the extent we let the God part of us, the God spark of us, flow out of us, that's how we manifest God. So for me, it's like, get your ego in check, Claudia, and let the God flow through.
I have another example, and it is how do you say that? I debug systems. I help people for systems that are stuck, especially in computers, but I do other things as well. And just a week ago, an aircon didn't work anymore, and my wife wanted to call the serviceman immediately, say, let me sit on it 24 hours. After 24 hours, I switched it on and it was working again. And it worked for another 4 days until we had other visitors using that area. And 1 day later, aircon broke down again. Then I said to my wife, yeah, well, that is what Thai people call black magic. I call it gray magic. People are doing something. They interact with everything that is in the area. And electronics is very sensitive. And what I always do is I just address all the people that made that thing work. That means in my idea, if we look at an air code, that is about 1 million people that make that air code come into being. And I just ask them, let it be good again. So it is a kind of a regeneration, and it works. If it's only for me, that aircon would run. You understand? Because when I'm close to that aircon, I say thank you to the people that created that aircon. And it will work. Sometimes if people ask me to fix their computer, I say, why don't you make it your boyfriend? Well, it's a dead machine. I say, no. Of course, when it's a boy, I say, let it be a girlfriend. Get an how you say that, a relationship with that matter.
Express love to it.
Well, if you understand that we all together make the things in this world manifest, and we communicate with these people in a grateful way, there's a lot of stuff that you don't need to throw away, or you don't need to repair, but you just regenerate. Just try it. It works. It works for me.
Well, your believing makes it so.
Yeah. Well, I must say the Fillmore ideas have really strengthened my idea about this. Once you start to talk about everything is created from substance, that made all of my ideas about that more strong. So I was so happy to get that into my system. It made that part easier.
Thanks, Leo, and everybody. Any other thoughts or observations about what we
I've
just
got
read?
one.
Yeah, Janet.
I've got one. I've got a practical, simple one. Because Leo is always like, I love listening to him talk, and I think this time I'm going to get it, what he's talking about. But I often don't, and that is on me. I'll tell you what, that all my years of prayer and meditation and, living in the spirit, I thought, and I was still very much, though, attracted and living from my ego. And God not only struck me down once, but 2 subsequent times, so that I've had the past 25 years, every time the ego starts to creep back in, something happens in my brain and I'm back to zero. Zero at the first round was very scary. Losing your ego literally overnight is very odd and took a lot of prayer to get me thinking I could continue to live in the world without all the mental stuff that I used to carry around and push on to other people. And then it crept back in. And then I had another brain injury. And then it crept back in. This time it's not creeping back in. And that's I'm just because this next time I'll be dead. It just can't happen again and have me recover physically enough to function. So it's a very big part of who we are as human beings and how it is used and how it is shared. God bless the people that get it when they're in their teens or 20s. It seems to me a lifelong, it's a lifelong quest, and not everybody's on it. Some people want to stay right there where the ego is keeping them rich and famous. So that's all. God will take care of it. That's my point. God will take care of it if I couldn't do it myself.
Can I offer maybe a slightly different perspective on what I heard you say?
Of course.
So would you be willing to consider that actually everybody is on the quest? That's built into our humanity. But our ability to participate in is related to this line here that Claudia raised a minute ago. To the extent of our consciousness, do we know that God moves, God mind lives, moves, and has its being in us? So the reason I say that is because I believe 100% that every single human being has the capability and power to become aware of this. And yes, most of us don't. And so what? It's still true that God mind moves, lives, and has its being in us, just as we live, move, and have our being in God mind. And that there's an evolutionary principle at work here that we are all part of, which is to raise the consciousness of the species, which apparently the way it's organized just doesn't happen at the snap of a finger. It takes time. And the evidence of that for me is it's taken time in this particular individual version of humanity. So I wasn't born with this consciousness. And I know there's more consciousness to come.
Well, and what I like what you just said about that, Marty, was you talked about what I interpreted was that you talked about in lifting, your consciousness or the individual's consciousness, you lift the consciousness of the race. And that's, kind of been medically proven that, or I don't know how you want to say it, proven, but medically proven, they know that people who meditate and like monks and things like that, they've raised their own consciousness, and they can see it in their brainwaves. Then, we have those anecdotal examples of when everybody was praying for peace during the time of the Iraqi war, the very, 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 very first one. If we as humans lift our own personal consciousness, we lift the consciousness of the race, and the experiences that our world has. So yeah, I like that. I like what you said.
Thank you. And we couldn't lift those of us who do this work, let's just use Jesus as the way show or example. this couldn't work to lift the collective consciousness if we weren't already all connected and all of us already have the potential to participate. So I don't know that I could lift the consciousness of, say, all of the mosquitoes on the planet, because they don't participate in the same way that human beings do.
But I believe you could lift the consciousness of mammals and birds. So I don't know about mosquitoes. They are a little bit flighty.
You pardon the pun.
Wanted to see how many of you are awake on that one.
Good one, Claudia.
Anything else on 15, 16, or 17? Okay, let's move on then to 18, 19, and 20. Who would be willing to read those?
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. I want to go
Yes.
back to 16. 16 is really important because that's where Fillmore acknowledges or lays out that God is masculine and feminine. He is male and God is. It's not he. God is. Masculine, has masculine and feminine attributes. And he created, now see, he screwed up there. He created man. No, he created people in another male pronoun, his. God created people in God's own image. And I think this is really powerful. I know that the 1900s and all the way through the 1960s, we used the male pronouns to, represent, the whole human race. And unless you're a woman, you don't get how isolating that is, because in your mind, you still default to a guy. But this is very powerful. And it's one of my, is one of my biggest gripes with Fillmore, that he always makes God a guy. Well, he always uses a male pronoun for God, and he always, uses a male pronoun for humanity. And so right there, I have now forgiven Fillmore. I just thought that was important to have that. But it is powerful because I don't think even to this day, some Christian faiths recognize that God is masculine and feminine in God's attributes and and we were made in that image and likeness, not of the attributes. So that was important to me.
Thanks for that, Claudia. Anybody else want to chime in on this one?
Well, there is some interesting aspects, but they are a bit outside of the Christian lineage. One of them is that there are symbols for creation, and they only work good if the feminine and the masculine work really together. And so anyone that is not, you say that, in the mood of a completeness is actually creating from incomplete idea. And when you're incomplete, you create incomplete. When you are complete, you create complete. And that's a very good thing to notice when we are in the act of creating. If we want to create something, we have to have both of our parts together. They have to be in harmony. And then what we create is automatically something that is easy to complete.
Thanks for that, Leo. It's interesting to me that this insight of the existence and complementarity of masculine and feminine psychic energies is universal. I mean, you see that in the Tao symbol of yin yang. You see that in the marriage of Shiva and Shakti in the Hindu religion. You see that in the caduceus in the Greek mythology of the
Washington D.C., your government buildings, they have the same thing. You have the yoni and the lingam. They are together. That is an expression of power. It's in Washington, right under your nose. It's there.
Well, what's right under my nose is my laptop, but okay.
You're right.
Yeah, no, it's a universal truth, but it's Claudia. If I take your point, it's not a universal truth that's acknowledged in most traditional Christian teachings. In fact, some Protestant perspectives downplay Mary, the Mother of God, quite dramatically. In Christianity or in Catholicism, Mary's a very important symbol, although the explicitness of the relationship of Mary and Jesus as symbols of masculine and feminine is not really acknowledged consciously. And the other thing that's interesting, yeah, go ahead, John.
The way I've reconciled this in me is that everything written on that paper starts with I, or me. I believe that creative mind or God is masculine and feminine. So what in my recovery quest, early, like in the 70s and 80s, the admonition I heard was that I need to embrace my feminine side. And then somewhere in the 90s, I discovered that I express my emotions from the masculine, which is different than the feminine. And then I discovered that I don't know, it wasn't Fillmore. This is the first time I'm with him, but Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Shinn, a couple others, that the reference from masculine and feminine is inside me, feminine being the subconscious manifesting force, the masculine being the conscious I want directional. And that my subconscious is where everything manifests from. One of the mantras that I learned from a teacher, it sounds like this, and especially that the last line. There's 4 lines. I decide what is right. My responsibility is infinite. I am not my body, nor am I my mind. I am the mother of all that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and today, I happen to be expressing that through what we've decided is masculine and feminine. And also this is like in the Bible where it says in marriage, the two become one. Well, they're not talking about 2 people because that creates a lot of animosity and fights and stuff. They're talking about me, that my conscious and my subconscious become one. And then I'm available to whoever might be in my life. So.
Or your male and your masculinity and your femininity become one.
Yeah, and masculinity being consciousness, femininity referring to subconscious or that creative force inside me that manifests everything around me.
I love that, John. That's really great. And it makes me think of, it's easy, as Claudia said, if you're a woman walking around in these bodies on this planet to rear up and be irritated about all this masculine talk about God and what we feel sometimes is the relegation of the feminine to the back of the bus. But what you said really resonates with me about us all being masculine and feminine. We are. It's almost it's almost like it's an ego position to to be offended. But I still wish there were more references to and but if I just back to what I feel is my reality, that I am both masculine and feminine, and I believe I have been both masculine and feminine in uh, manifestation over my soul's journey. Um, that I'm better able to look at masculine and feminine as attributes of creation rather than characteristics of a body.
Oh,
Nope.
Sydney, you
Yeah.
just really cheered me up because I was thinking about something about reincarnation and thought, I don't think that's a Fillmore thing.
Yeah.
But I
It's a Sydney thing.
absolutely,
It is a Fillmore thing.
okay,
Oh,
I absolutely know for sure. I've I've done a lot of work with this, that I have had different genders in different lifetimes. And each lifetime, when you experience what it is to be in that body, and then when you get to a place in your journey that you're really trying to look back at that and understand it and how they connect, none of what Claudia is talking about, I hear this all the time from my women friends, and it always goes right over my head because I just think, oh, you're making this too complicated. This is just, you're in this lifetime feeling a certain way, and next time you'll feel a different way. So I've never had I've always had an androgynous streak, not bisexual, but androgynous, and just felt like I get it. And that's what I attribute it not to my wisdom, but to this experience of living these lives and feeling. It's a very different feeling to be in a male body. It's a very different feeling. And if you take some of that with you to when you come back around again as a much smaller and more fragile physically person, it all sort of just mixes together. And that's what I think Sydney just said
Yep.
that cheered me
Yep.
up.
Well said. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Sydney.
One of my other mentors, Ken Wilber, the integral philosopher, taught me something that I think is relevant here, which is that we tend to confuse male and female with masculine and feminine, and those are not equivalents. Male and female refers merely to sexual differences in the species. Masculine and feminine are psychic and spiritual energies that are not connected to our sex. And he said, and he worked with this gentleman named David Data, who did a lot of research on this. And
Yeah.
so we're all masculine and feminine. And some of us may be oriented more greatly toward our feminine. Some of us may be oriented more greatly to our masculine. And it can change in a life during a lifetime. And so and we can actually consciously call upon those energies in ourselves when we need them. When we need the connecting, loving, nurturing, creating energy of mother, I can consciously call that forth in me. When I need the directing, focusing energy of the masculine, I can call upon that as well. And when I need them both together, when I need mom and dad together, I can call on those energies consciously as well. That was a conversation killer.
No, we're just noodling on that.
Yeah.
Actually, I was noodling on that to the point of thinking, I wonder if trans people kind of understood that masculine femininity component and how strong it can be one way or the other, regardless of the male female or the body. I wonder if that would be easier. I don't know. That's where my mind took me when you were talking about that, because you're right. Masculinity and femininity are inherent in all of us. But woe be the woman who expresses too much masculinity, and woe be the man who expresses too much femininity, because our cultures aren't very good at accepting that.
Right.
And at the same time, it doesn't change the reality that some of us are
It doesn't change the reality.
some of
It
us
just,
are cross-oriented. So as a gay man, for example, I have always, when I was a kid, I thought being gay was I was a woman in a man's body. It's like, no, that's got nothing to do with it.
I was
And
also
I know some gay men
confused.
who are very feminine in their orientation, and I know some gay men that are very masculine in their orientation. It's got nothing to do with it.
right, exactly. Yeah, no, I understand that. You know, as you know, our brother was gay, and you know, masculine, yes, but still prefer to go to bed with men. It's like that's just who he was.
Leo, you had something to say?
Well, I remember when I was 14 that I was just surprised people were so, how you say that, um, split things between man and woman, because I could love them both, but it had nothing to do with sex. But the same was for me for colored people from other kinds of background. They were all equal for me. And I was always surprised people make distinctions. Oh, that is from that neighborhood. I said, well, so what? I've never had that problem.
Well, you remember the
People,
song in South Pacific, you got to teach them how to hate. You have to teach little children how to hate. That's the song from South Pacific, and it's very true.
and and that song that Mark has on his website, See Me Beautiful, it really helps if you come across people that have a, let's say, a mean streak on them. Just humming that song looks like they turn their carousel of ideas and the good stuff comes into that communion. So what normally is the, let's say, the grumpy nature, it just softens, it goes away just by humming. See Me Beautiful. It's magic.
Well, that's what I'll be doing
It
next
works.
time I see Trump on TV.
Do that.
Okay, anything else before we move on? Who would be willing to read 18, 19, and 20 for us?
I will.
Thanks, Sydney.
18. We believe that the body of man is the highest formed manifestation of creative mind, and that it is capable of unlimited expression of that mind. Know ye not that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? 19. We believe that through conscious union with Jesus in the regeneration, man can transform his body and make it perpetually healthy, therefore immortal, and that he can attain eternal life in this way and in no other way. 20. We believe that the blood of Jesus represents eternal life, that the body of Jesus represents incorruptible substance. We believe that these are original elements in being, and that they can be appropriated by all who, through faith and understanding, attain the Christ standard of spirituality.
Thanks, Sydney. Thoughts?
Oh, yeah.
I have a question. What
Questions?
is in number 19? What is the conscious union with Jesus in the regeneration? When does that happen?
Answers?
If you believe then it happens. Believe means be and live it. Or in other words, you have to work it to make it work. It's not something you can do only with your intellect. You have to have the feminine and the masculine have to work together. This is one of these examples where feminine and masculine have to work together.
Okay.
I have a real challenge with Jesus there. I just, I can accept that statement if I say we believe that through the God conscious union or the conscious union, we believe that through the conscious union with the God spark, man, humans can transform their bodies. But I mean, I got the pronoun thing issue, but I also just, I can accept that if I translate Jesus to the God spark within us, but I just have such a trouble with that.
Can I give a small step up? You all remember Uri Geller? He made this arm witches run. What he really did, he was inviting all people to believe that it would work. So he just inspired people to use their feminine force to make these watches work again. That's what he did. So I wouldn't be so especially on this word Jesus. There should be another word there. I think the conscious union of feminine and masculine together make things happen. And it makes things happen according to your vision that you're expressing. So if you express your broken watch to be healed, then that watch will heal itself. And then people say, my God, Leo, that's really not going to work. But my watch is so rusty. I say, well, if it's rusty, then throw it in the vinegar and see if and maybe later when the rust is gone, you can make it work again. I'm not going to do that. I say, okay, if you don't work it, it doesn't work.
No harm, no foul.
Sorry?
No harm, no foul by throwing the watch into the vinegar. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So,
Sure. Just try these things with something simple. Don't you do something that makes you immediately think that it is impossible to work. If your remote isn't working, you say, oh, the battery is gone. Well, then inspire your battery. And you say, come on, make it work. And you zap your television again. And the next time you take the remote and it doesn't work and you are in doubt again. So you take your remote and you energize it and it works again. And you do this 3 times, 4 times, 10 times. And then when my remote is not working, I just give it a little bit of my energy. I say, thank you, boing, working. I know people that can handle their television without remote. How about that?
Wow.
That is faith. But they came there by first energizing that remote. That's how it starts. And then you start to think, how is this really working? How is my intent of this television working? How is that transformed to this thing? Who made this? Who thought of that? And we are all together in this, but we forget about that. We think, oh, that is just matter. It's not only matter, it's inspired. It's inspired by millions of people. And yeah, billion of people think it needs a battery to work. So that is what you need to overcome. Try it. Your car not starting. Okay, what you do? Oh, the battery's gone. well, believe that it still has some juice and do it again. Oh,
Preach,
it
brother.
worked. Sorry, Martin, what you?
I said, preach, brother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It really works for me, really. And sometimes I to someone, yeah, it's not working. I say, yeah, but treat that thing with a bit of love, please. Huh? Why would I love this thing? It's just that thing. You say, well, that's just it. It's not just that thing. That
It's
thing is
manifestation.
absolutely. Thank you, Sydney. And every time I take something, I say thank you. And it's listening. I say, wow, someone is really enjoying with me. If I had a software problem with something, I just call the people for help. Oh yeah, I could pray to God, but I happen to know there's a lot of IT people in the world that made that software work. So I say, hey guys, come on, help me. Give me an idea. Let's make it work. It's beautiful. It has some things that need to be added, and it will work. Especially with software, guys, because software is almost a direct translation of mind.
Hmm.
Yeah. So try that. And really, this is software. Really, it is software. Try it. Make me jealous next week and say, Leo, it works.
Here's something not like Leo can explain, but the revealing word just explained to me that regeneration is the unification of spirit, soul, body in spiritual oneness. So I understand that if I line up in that way, then I can connect in a conscious union with Jesus, the Christ. That sound right?
Well, for me, I connect to Sophia and her grandfather, but it's the closest to what I find is Jesus. And when I want to repair something, I always cover it with my energy. So if someone brings a laptop to me, I say, okay, I will try to fix it. First thing I do, I accept the laptop and I turn around. And at that time, I disconnect the energy of the owner from that laptop. I disconnect it. And then I connect to the makers of the laptop. I say, this is a beautiful machine. Let's make it work again. Sometimes it doesn't take more than 5 minutes. And I cannot give it back to the owner because they don't believe me. It has to have a problem. It has to have a problem. I say, yeah, you're the problem. Oh no, I cannot say that. I'm not allowed to say that. People are not happy. People are not thankful. They are not grateful. If you are grateful, you get your message. And then you are in union. And then you are creating.
I'm grateful for you, Leo. I love your passion.
Well,
I believe it. It's
works if you
energy,
work it.
energy and information. Yeah.
It works if you work it, really. Take something simple and you'll see it works with everything. But please understand that if you do this with people that do not believe in unity, that you have a hard time to isolate the object from those other creators. We are in this together, so we create these things together. And only if people ask me to fix it, can I fix it? So for something that is really difficult, I ask them 3 times. I say, you really want I fix this? I do that. And people sometimes say it's impossible. Many years ago, I worked for a company, and one day I came to that area, and there was a group of accountants there to make a report. And one of the guys sat there really like, oh my God. One of his colleagues was sick, and he could not start that laptop because it was protected with a password. And he had to finish that report that day. He said, oh, what am I to do? What am I to do? I said, do you really want to have that data available? Yes. You really want it? Yes, of course I want it. Are you sure? Yes. I did like this, boom, on the keyboard, and it was unlocked.
Oh,
It was unlocked. And they looked at me like, huh? Can you do that again? I say, no, I can't do that again. This wasn't me. You understand? It wasn't me. I was just how you say that, the carrier. It flew through me. It was flowing through me. How could I think about it like that? I just did that. Like you do the piano, boom.
Mm.
Work it, and it will work, really. But you need to have faith, and that faith comes automatically. There was a need. You understand? There was a need. People said, I really need this, and I asked them because what I did was against the law. Yeah, I'm not allowed to open something that doesn't belong to me. So I had to have their explicit agreement. So I asked it 3 times. And then I opened that laptop.
And so did Jesus.
Yeah,
He asked 3 times.
yeah.
hmm.
But we are all Jesus. But you have
Yep.
to work. We are all Jesus, but you have to work it.
Conscious union.
Ooh, I'm impressed.
Practice.
So I know where Phineas Quimby was reincarnated.
But on the other end of that, if you recall one of Phil's talks, he was talking, he was going to give a talk, and then he went dark, and we were all on Zoom church. He went dark. He was gone. The next week he came back, and he said, folks, I can explain what happened. It was spirit. Here's what happened. I wasn't sure if I should give that talk or not. I was really thinking about whether that was a good idea to give that talk I was going to give. I thought it might be too negative and not be the right talk, but I wasn't sure. And then all of a sudden, my computer blanked out. I didn't give the talk. I called the technician in. The guy came in and, he said, go ahead, turn on your computer. I turned it on and everything worked. So he had the reverse experience. He had the experience where he was questioning God or spirit, asking for assistance, and spirit said, well, you're not listening, so no computer for you today.
Oh,
Y'all remember that? Lillian and Marty? I don't know. Maybe you don't.
interesting.
Well, my friends, this has really been a powerful, it's always powerful. And I'm really grateful to everybody for their share. I'm grateful, Leo, to you for challenging all of us to let go and let God, let the channel channel itself.
Yes. Do it.
Let's close our time together as we always do with the prayer for protection, and then we'll pick this up at number where do we leave off? Number 21 next week. All right, together the light of God surrounds
God
us.
Of God
surrounds us.
surrounds us.
The
The
love of God
Love of
enfolds
God
us.
enfolds us.
The power
power
of
of
God
Power
protects
of
us.
God
protects us.
protects us.
The
The
presence
presence
of
of
God
God
watches
Of
over
watches
God
us.
over
watches
us.
over us.
Wherever
Wherever we
we
are,
are,
We are.
God
God
is,
God
is,
is.
and
and
all is
all
well.
is
All
well.
is well.
Great job, Marty. Thank
Good
you.
work, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
meeting.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Leo.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Spiritual thinking
Bye.
caps.
Thanks, Marty.